we've all found ourselves in these kind of crazy places. Sometimes people don't believe it, but sometimes people don't hear it, and I think they should. So, what have you got lined up for us?
Yeah, I mean, we could be on here for hours, Dan, speaking about stories from the Futures Tour. I mean, I've got a couple of stories too that are probably suitable for this podcast. One that probably shows the lows, the real low lows on the Futures Tour, and then one that's a bit more uplifting. So I'll start with the low one. I don't know if when you were traveling or coaching, you ever went to Cancun and played the Futures there.
I went to Cancun last year for the WTA finals.
Okay, not for the 15Ks.
But not the 15Ks.
Slightly different. But these were, and notoriously the worst tournaments ever run in tennis. So I went. I think they started at the beginning of 2019, and I went in the summer of 2019 with Alex Jun when he was still playing. We both rocked up. We had no idea what to expect. We thought Cancun, this will be amazing on the beach. This is where everyone goes on holiday, honeymoons. So we're thinking, right, this will be great. We're in for 3 weeks. We're traveling there for. So I think Juni got there a couple of days before me, and I rocked up on maybe the Saturday because I was in main draw or something like that. Immediately you walk out the airport, and it literally hits you. It's like 90% humidity, 38 degrees. So that's already a tough start. You're sweating literally as you get off the plane. But then you sort of, I kind of knew it was going to be a bit of a weird trip, literally from getting picked up to the airport and taken to the club. So I did it in the day, which was lucky. Other people, if they were landing at night, had to do this at night. You get picked up by a driver. I was on my own. He speaks no English. He's got a sign that says Cancun Tennis Academy on it or something like that. And you get picked up in this van. It's like 50 degrees. But it's okay. You think you're going to the club, no problem. When I get there, all will be good. So you're going, you're driving past all the nice bits of Cancun. You're like, this looks really nice. But you're getting further and further and further away. Suddenly, you're on the highway and you take a turn into the jungle, like literally on a path into the jungle. You're getting 5-6 policemen come up to the car, questioning the guy, all in Spanish. Think some money may have exchanged hands. I can't really remember. But anyway, so you get past this police checkpoint and you're driven literally down this dirt road. I wouldn't even call it a road. Track, path, I'm not sure. The bumpiest thing ever. The car's going all over the place. And you're going deeper and deeper into the jungle, 20 minutes down this road, until eventually you reach the end of this road and there's just a gate. And you think, and there's no life around, no sign of any life. And everyone who's done this trip I've spoken to, particularly the ones who do it at night, they think, right, this is it. This is the end. Something's going to happen here. And then all of a sudden, I'm dreading it. He's like, right, we've got to get out now. And I'm like, oh, get out for what? Because literally a gate. There's nothing there. It's trees. You're in the middle of nowhere. And so I'm panicking. Everyone's there is panicking who's done this trip. And then all of a sudden, you've got your bags. He lets you get your bags out the back. They open this gate, or like 2 people come out through a little side door and start questioning the guy and looking at me. And then all of a sudden, they open this gate. And there's like 15 tennis courts behind this gate in the middle of the jungle, nowhere. So then you're like, obviously, wow. So I've survived night 1. So you get into this place. The facilities are quite cool. Well, seem cool at first. There's hundreds of courts. And then there's lodging, like overlooking the court, sort of monastery style-esque.
Yeah.
So you get there. Juni's already there, luckily. So he sort of knows the ins and outs of the club. But this place, I mean, I could go on a rant for hours about this place. There's so many issues with this place. First of all, every single person. So when you stay there, you're staying on site. You don't go off site. All the food's there. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. There's a shop, stringer, sort of a gym, courts, whatever. You're on site. So me and Juni are having breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. And by about day 3 or 4, we're in absolute agony. We can hardly function because our stomachs are in absolute bits. And I remember the funniest thing was, I think it was week 2, we're both in Maine. I think we both won our first round. I think I had a really long match. Juni's wasn't as long. We played these really long matches. And then in the evening, we'll go to dinner. And then me and Juni are literally having to do shifts on the toilet. He'd be like, right, I'll be like, I need the first shift when we get back into the room, and I'm in there for 15, 20 minutes, and then I'll hear Jun knocking on the door saying, mate, I've got to come in now. So I've got to suck it up, get out of the toilet for 20, 30 minutes while he gets whatever he needs to get done in there. And literally for hours, we're doing this for days, every night. Sometimes be at 3 a.m. I think, right, Junny's asleep. I can get in the toilet here. I really need to go. It'd be 3:10 and he's knocking on the door saying, mate, I need to go. It's absolute carnage. And then the worst thing, one of the worst things that happened while we were there is after one of the weeks, we're trying to collect our prize money. This is a bit morbid, but the tournament director there, I can't remember his name. He sort of like was a pretty mysterious guy, but he ran the show. So we've got to go to him to get our prize money. But the day we went to get our prize money, he wasn't there. So we're asking, oh, where is this guy? Do you know when we can get our prize money? And they said, yeah, he'll be back in a couple of days. We're like, okay, well, we might need to fly out, but okay, we ended up staying for the next couple of days. It turns out he had actually, this is very sad actually, he had accidentally locked his dog in his black BMW and left it out in the sun for hours. The dog had overheated and died, and they'd held a funeral. They'd literally dug a grave for this dog outside of the resort, outside of the academy, and they'd held a funeral for him, for the dog. And that's why we couldn't pick up our prize money for that day and the day after.
Wow.
Carnage. And then
it's unbelievable.
Those tournaments got shut down because so many people complained about the conditions. There was other stuff wrong with it as well, like the balls kept changing, the stringing wasn't great. But then there were some links to it, to a Mexican cartel or a Mexican gang and drug smuggling, and so they just shut it down in the end. So that tournament doesn't exist anymore. But
what is it with tennis players? Because we've all been to these places, even though we kind of know what they're like. Like, I told a story. I won't tell it again because I told it on the last one. But we were caught in a civil war in Uzbekistan.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, we kind of know that these things are happening in these places. Like but the desperation that we seem to have, is it desperation? Is it love? Is it passion? What is the reason so many people are doing these things?
For me on that trip, some people do it out of desperation, but for me on that trip, it was complete naivety from me. I just saw Cancun on the schedule and thought that'll be lovely. And also it hadn't been going on for that long, that tournament. So people, word of mouth hadn't got around that this tournament was potentially an absolute shambles. So I just went in not expecting anything. I just thought it was going to be I thought it was going to be like Sharm or like Monastir, which are a bit cowboy, but not horrendous. But then
which is the best one? Which is the best one of those resort types?
This is controversial on the ITF tour, this chat. But for me, my favorite is Sharm, because you've got Sharm, you've got Heraklion, you've got Tunisia, and you've got Antalya. So immediately I can't rate Antalya because that's on clay, so I've never been there. Heraklion is very nice as a place. It feels like you're in civilization, but the courts are so slow and it's so windy. It's really difficult to play tennis there. So then you're left with Sharm and Monastir, and Sharm, it feels like you're not just on the courts all day, every day. Like you can go to the beach, you can go on a boat, there's like a little square you can go to. So for me, Sharm,
10-pin bowling.
Yeah, bowling. Yeah, I haven't actually ever been in there, but there's stuff you can do in Sharm that makes it feel like it is the real world rather than just at a tennis tournament, But many people will disagree and say probably Monastir is better, but who knows?
And what percentage of you've been playing on this tour of 5 years now, roughly?
On and off. I was playing while I was at uni.
College.
While I was at
6,
uni,
7.
5 years, 6 years, something like
that. And what percentage of events have you played outside of the UK in those resorts?
I'm trying to think this year what I've done. I've been to Sharm 3 times this year, so that's probably 6, 7 weeks there. It's probably a third of the tournaments I played outside of the UK were in Sharm this year, something like that.
Yep.
Because you do they're on every week, so anytime there's a gap in your schedule, you need to fill your schedule up, it's so easy to just get there. Particularly for me, once you've been there as well, the conditions are the same. You don't need to get used to conditions. You know exactly what the practice court situation is, what the food's like, what the balls are like. So it's an easy one to fill up your schedule with.
Give me the uplifting story.
The uplifting story. What I was going to lead into is from Cancun. Obviously, I actually did okay in the tennis, but the trip overall was horrific. And the only reason I got through it was because I had Alex Jun with me, which made it much more bearable. So I was going to lead into a trip that I went on this year, just sort of highlighting, I think, how important it is to travel with guys that you're mates with, or you get on with, you can have a bit of fun with, who don't just talk about tennis all day, all this stuff. So this year I played the Futures in Ireland, which I'm sure you must have been to before, in Dublin. Yep. And I was lucky enough to be able to take Giles Hussey there as my coach for the week, because he was on a long injury. He wasn't really doing much. He was doing loads of rehab. So I said, I was flying out in 2 days. I said, mate, instead of doing rehab in the colleague gym at the NTC for 5 hours a day, I was like, why don't you just come to Ireland, come and watch me and do a rehab there? Because I knew there was a gym. And so he comes out. Giles is one of my closest mates on the tour, so he really helped me out that week. But the uplifting bit of it was, we had the hotel booked, I think, for 4 nights. So assuming until whenever I'd played my first round of main draw and singles and doubles. So I think we had it until Wednesday or Thursday, and then after that we tried to rebook the hotel completely full. So we have to take all of our bags to the club, and Giles is like, no, don't worry, I'll sort us for tonight. You just focus on your match. So I'm going on for my match. No idea where I'm staying tonight, but trying to play. I'm going, I think this is second round, maybe. Go set up, or maybe I'm in a tiebreak or something. And I'm kind of looking at Giles at this point because I'm pretty stressed, like needs some coaching support. And I'm looking over to him and he's just chatting to this random person who I've never seen before in my life. And I'm trying to and he's not giving me much. He's giving me the occasional stuff at every other point. But anyway, I managed to get through the set and get through the match. And then afterwards I got up and said, what's going on there, mate? Like, were you watching any of my match or just chatting? And he said, this random person was actually an Irish member of the club, a woman called Bernie. And really bizarrely, she used to live in London. She used to live 2 roads away from where I live now, and was a member of Cumberland Lawn Tennis Club, which is where I play. And she was asking Giles who I was, who he was, where we're from. And she asked, where are you staying tonight? And Giles said, well, that's actually an interesting one at the moment. Probably on the side of the street at this rate. And she goes, oh, don't be silly. Come and stay with us. Amazingly nice of her. So me, Hussey and Dan Little go and stay at their house in the evening. Me and Giles ended up staying the rest of the week and for 4 or 5 nights. But the thing that Giles did, this is one of the best things anyone's ever done for me on tour, is he just took one for the team every night in Ireland, because obviously it's big drinking culture in Ireland, Dan. And so we get back to this house, and I think in Irish culture, it's probably seen as rude not to accept any drinks that are being offered to you. But obviously I'm trying to play my matches. I'm on at 10 a.m. the next morning, and I'm getting offered glasses of red wine, white wine, whiskies, pints, anything you can think of at 9.
I hope a Guinness.
Yeah, Guinness. It's at like 11 o'clock. And our hosts, David and Bernie, they leave the room for a couple of minutes. And Giles says, don't worry, mate. I've got this. You go upstairs. So I go upstairs, obviously thinking he's going to stay down for half an hour, just chat to them, be sociable. Turn up the next morning. He is completely hungover. He's been drinking all night with them. He said they went to bed at 3, 4 a.m. He's just been getting drinks thrown at him left, right, and centre. And he says,
are we supposed to feel sorry for him?
No, what?
For doing this? Yeah, I mean,
but he's having to wake up at 7 a.m. to come and hit balls with me, to come and sit in the sun and watch me. I'm feeling great, and he's waking up feeling horrific. And he's done that for 3, 4 nights in a row. And by the end of it, the hosts have clocked on, and then they're taking liberties with it and just offering him stuff at 3 p.m. just trying to get him plastered.
Brilliant.
But it was, the point of that story is just highlights
Brilliant.
how much more fun, because I know everyone knows tennis can be tough. I've listened to some of your podcasts and everyone knows how tough it is, how lonely it is, all this stuff. But if you are able to find people like Giles, for myself, and there's loads of other guys in British tennis that I travel with, who I love traveling with, and if you're able to travel with those guys, it makes it so much more enjoyable, so much less stressful. It feels like you're in the real world, because obviously tennis doesn't always feel like the real world. And then honestly, I think when you're more relaxed off the court, you play better anyway.
Absolutely. Well, you went on to win that tournament, I believe.
I did, yeah. I won that event mainly due to Giles protecting me from the evening activities.
I hope you took him out on the piss to celebrate.
Yeah, I actually do owe him a few. Oh, I did a couple of weeks later. Actually, I owed him a few drinks for that.
He probably wasn't ready that night.
No, he was struggling for a few days after. That probably pushed his rehab back a few weeks as well.